guys, this is Aromie here. Welcome back to our life. Baxter DLC, we're here. Again. Played on again. He decided to walk out on you, yet again, step by measured step. And then, you heard a long drawn-out exhale. Baxter had stopped after a few paces, his back to you. You saw a hand come up to pinch the bridge of his nose. Baxter turned slightly, glancing over his shoulder so his gaze met yours. You didn't say anything. You didn't dare to, like he was a wild animal at risk of being spooked. He closed his eyes for a few seconds and breathed in and out. You blinked and then he was coming back in your direction, his face set in a determined expression. He stopped a few feet from where you stood, the heels of his dress shoes snapping together.
I'm sorry.
You must think I'm avoiding you deliberately. I do. And I am. Yeah. You made a kind of hybrid shrugging nodding gesture to indicate that. Yeah, you got that feeling. It was hard to miss. He made a noise that was one part laugh, another part sigh. Like, bro, I am leaving soon. Do you not understand this? You think you're walking out on me, but I'm gonna be walking out on you in, like, I don't know, a day. Of course, I am. My hope was that you wouldn't notice. Well, what you don't know won't hurt you and all that. Avoiding people is hurtful no matter what. Really, Baxter? Why would you think I wouldn't notice? Avoiding people is hurtful no matter what. I know. Many things can be painful without you even realizing it. And since the plan is dashed, I wouldn't want you to get the wrong impression about why. It isn't your fault, and I haven't forgotten everything that happened last night.
It's
only this highly specific situation that has reawakened my big word that I don't know, you might say. What about it? Baxter silently stared over the expansive city for a while, as if collecting his thoughts. Then he finally spoke to you, really spoke to you, as two people who knew each other with no pretenses in between. It's been hard not to feel nostalgic this past week. We've had quite a stroll down memory lane, sometimes by abstinence, sometimes because I went out of my way to do so. I have fond memories of those days in Sunset Bird, treasured memories. Like most treasures, there are things to be taken out and admired from time to time, and then put away again. Though some are too delicate for even that, they should never be touched. He was talking mostly to his shoes. His hands had snuck into his pockets in an uncharacteristically timid gesture.
Yes.
This evening is a reprise of something I never wished to relive. His voice was soft, plaintive. There was an ache in it. That party was wonderful. The summer soiree. Oh, he remembered it too. It had been so long since I'd known what it was like to be included, to be around people who refused to let you be left out, no matter how hard you tried to weasel out of it. Terry, Miranda, and Cove are too kind, but it was your gestures, specifically, that are at the heart of this matter. He laughed, then a nervous gasping thing. Okay. And pressed a hand instinctively to his chest.
Truthfully.
Here's the truth. If you didn't ask me to dance again in the after hours of another event we helped create like you did then, it would have broken my heart. That would mean definitely that I've lost what we had. Baxter's tone shook, his hand dropped to his side where it balled into a fist. The air around you was very still. But if you did ask, it would be more painful, because that would mean... Baxter struggled to put his deepest feelings to words. The first attempt died off, but he squared his shoulders and forced himself to get it out. It would mean that even after everything, you hadn't let me go, that you accepted me still. That you always would have, that I should have believed that all along, that the only thing I've done was hurt you and myself of my own accord. There was a pain to his words that shocked you to hear. Oh. I don't know if I chose correctly then. I did want to spend more time with them because I thought that was the better option out of all of them because, you know, I didn't care how we spent it. Though by now you would never have made the mistake of thinking he lacked emotion. Baxter still so rarely displayed this kind of naked vulnerability. Baxter tucked his face away from you. It's horrible. I didn't want to know one way or the other.
I'm sorry.
I'm fairly pathetic, you understand? That truly was the core of it. Baxter couldn't let himself be happy, no matter what. He was scared to hope and too ashamed of himself to try. So is it too late to ask for that dance? Oh, I could pretend I came over here to ask for a dance. So is it too late to ask? Or do I say I came here to ask you to dance? I'm still here. You have the answer. Ooh. He didn't have anything to say to that, but his brows pinched further. There was a brief pause, and then Baxter raised his head. There was a faint sheen to his eyes. He seemed to search your face for a while, like he was trying with all his might to glean your thoughts. After another heavy pause, he found more he wanted to tell you. You've always been understanding me, Chico, excessively so even. Whenever I look back on that summer and sunset bird, I'm stunned by the way I prioritized myself above all else, and yet here I am making that same mistake. From the moment you walked into that restaurant, my actions were nothing but self-preservation and damage control, and occasionally reminiscing to an extent I was pleased with.
Yes.
Yes, I had a professional commitment, not to let personal matters impede the work that needed to be done, but my distancing went far beyond that. In the end, I was using their marriage as an excuse. If not for that, then there would have been something else, some trivial reason for keeping you at arm's length, that likely doesn't shock you. I had bigger shocks from taking off a sweater. What? Kind of thought so. I should have done better by you. Junus got as well. Baxter's eyebrows lifted in the middle, a penitent expression.
To be honest.
But if you still can believe me, I hadn't intended for my behavior today to be quite as cruel as it must have come across. Your ears perked. You couldn't guess where this was going now. In the past, I spent every moment around other people thinking of the limited span of our acquaintance, as if I wasn't seeing them at all, only the imminent departure. Our arrangements fell in line with that, a clear time frame, limited from the outset, predetermined rules set in stone. It was that way 5 years ago. It was that way now. We cooperated for a short period in service of Scott and Jude's wedding, and that would be that. I've said as much myself, more than once.
But
The problem is, as I only recently realized, he leaned in a little closer, his voice dipping in volume, letting you in on a secret. I forgot about that. Huh? Seeing the open incredulity on your face, Baxter gave a dry chuckle. You see, I thought, completely and earnestly, that I didn't need to speak with you now, here, when I was feeling so sensitive. We could simply pick up where we left off later tonight or tomorrow. The fact that we no longer had a reason to interact didn't come up as part of the consideration. What? Your eyes nearly popped out of your head. This entire time, you'd agonized over the idea that after this wedding, he'd cut you off. And Baxter was there already imagining what the two of you might be doing next Tuesday. That is so cute. But I won't be here. I'm going back to my place. I know. Who would have guessed it was possible to retain a connection with someone even with no limited set of circumstances to support it? Baxter laughed once, and it was real, but then he returned to utmost seriousness. I'm not going to simply vanish. And again, I will be. I apologize for how stressful this was. I apologize for everything I've ever done to you. It's a little hard to approach what I've sowed over the years. So many mistakes. And even now, when I hope to make things right, to make things last, I'm forced to admit that I'm ignoring the reality of the situation. Baxter shook his head ruefully. This doesn't come down to what I want at all. I don't have the right to put myself before you. I never did.
Forgive me.
Sorry. I know I'm rambling. The point is, if this is going to continue the way I've been silently picturing, I can't be shallow company. It was getting harder and harder to listen to Baxter talk about himself this way. Again, you recalled your shared history, an evening spent listening to him pour his heart out over your dining room table. You wanted to interject, to contradict him. Regrets were one thing, but maybe he was taking the self-critique a little far. There was one thing that stopped you in your tracks, however, the words sticking in your throat. Right now, Baxter was being utterly sincere. He thought long and hard about this, and so despite your misgivings, you held your tongue and waited. And on that front, there's some of my own advice which I should have followed a long time ago. When the time comes, don't pull away. You'll only regret it later. When did he say that? Because clearly he said it, because my girl finished it. The words were out before you even noticed, the scene echoing in the back of your mind as you said it. Baxter blinked, startled. Then his features softened for the first time since you'd approached him. Exactly. How apt that was. Though honestly, I can't believe I had the audacity to say such a thing to another person, even if they were a fictional character. Who? Still in my ignorance, I had a point. My 19-year-old self had a few ideas worth keeping, and he had people he should have held onto as well. Baxter squared his jaw and dipped his chin, drawing himself up and looking at you full in the face.
I don't want us to separate after today.
Okay. Okay, but like, the reality of the situation is I live in a whole different state now. So, there you have it. I would like to become your friend. A friend? Or remain your friend. Today, tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now, as long as you want. No more running away. I'll listen to whatever you have to say to me, even if it's difficult to hear. Well, alright, step 1. I want to be more than friends, but we can work our way back up there, you know? His mouth pulled up in a bashful little semi-smile, his posture open and vulnerable. There was an earnest, almost childlike aura of hope around him, or about him. As Baxter patiently awaited your response, you mentally scrambled to make sense of how you felt. There was a lightness to everything suddenly. Your whole body felt tingly. You had done it. Somehow you'd reconnected with the man you thought lost for good, and he wanted to be friends. That was amazing, but you wanted something other than friendship. You had to tell him. Would kissing him make him realize I want more than friendship? You had to kiss this guy right now. Being close with him was the most important thing you could ever... You could express your real feelings later. You're ecstatic, though secretly hope one day it'd be something other than a friendship. That was all you needed after all. Fuck no, it's not. I'm greedy in this aspect. Can I tell him and then can we kiss? Is that a thing? Because I don't want him... I assumed if I just kissed him, he will think we're like friends with bennies. And I don't want that. You were entranced by his dark, unwavering eyes. He was there. Baxter was actually right in front of you. You stretched out your hand. You could touch him. Your heart squeezed painfully tight. It needed to be smaller to push its way into your throat. More than anyone else, Baxter had been an ethereal presence in your life. From the very first time he appeared before you, it had been a decade of stagnation when a mysterious stranger arrived on your street. That summer was more than you could have imagined, all because of him. And brand new feelings sparked within you. In the few months you spent together, a delicate relationship had blossomed between you, but during those days you were unable to grasp how fragile it had actually been, how completely it would decay. There was no holding on to your suitor for a season. He tore himself away from you like an autumn storm bringing down a sapling. His cycle of being lost and found before letting go continued in an endless loop miles away from you. Your life kept going in its own direction for 5 whole years. Yet, no matter how much it pained you, the affection you'd nurtured still hadn't died. Not from the downpour or the long winter that followed. The roots kept hold deep inside, ready to burst through the surface if the chill ever passed. Seasons were meant to come and go, but there was no guarantee summer would come again for you and him. Your paths had no reason to cross. Except they did. You were given a second chance. The tourist for one summer. The planner for a wedding. Baxter Ward. This time he was reaching out to you. This time he could stay. He'd changed. What about you? You could take hold if you tried. The man himself in the present was waiting cordially as you sorted through your many thoughts. Cracks of anxiety had formed at the corners of his mouth and the creases of his eyes. The more the silence stretched, the more Baxter slipped into his forced professionalism pleasantness. Against his core nature, he had been vulnerable. What you might say in response to that was eating away at him. Baxter was important to you, more than he believed. That's what made you pause. Since meeting again, the charm and excitement you felt in younger years had grown into an irreplaceable love. You'd reaffirmed the decision. This was your moment. You would take it. It was alright to feel this way, right? You checked just once more that it wasn't a mistake. Your nerves are shot while you're thinking. You can take the risk. Fuck it! If he doesn't feel the same way, we can be friends still. And the awkwardness won't be as awkward because I live away. I live states away. So it won't be like, oh my god, I ran into him at a coffee shop. Like, what? You reaffirmed the decision. The wedding was over. It was done. You didn't have to hold back for the sake of avoiding complications for Scott and Jude. That was what you've been waiting on, and you wouldn't wait a minute longer. Besides, he asked you out the first time. It was only fair that you do it the second go around. Oh shit, I love you. I don't want to be friends. I want to be a couple. Would you maybe want to be my boyfriend? Could I consider all the time we spent Oh! D. If you want to be with me, then you should actually be with me. Oh no, I think this one. This one is so cute. That one's actual cute. We wrap it right back to the very beginning when we just hung out that one time together. And then he was like, should we consider this a date? Yo, we should do that. Okay, we're gonna do that one the next episode. But anyway, thank you guys for watching today's episode. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.